The Steel Ball Run universe introduced many parallels to the OG universe, many characters being callbacks of key characters from the first 6 parts, the power systems, and even certain plot points. But there's one parallel that doesn't get talked about too often: fate, or more specifically, how the concept of fate differs in the Steel Ball Run universe. In this video, I want to explain how I find the concept of fate differs in each universe. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So within the OG universe, the ruling concept is fate. Events in this universe are predetermined and inevitable. While there is room for choice, those choices ultimately lead to the same outcome. The best presentation of how fate works in JoJo would be the Bites the Dust story arc. In this arc, time loops, meaning on each loop we can take note of a few constants that happen throughout, making it safe to assume that these events are fated to happen. 1. The news bulletin starts at 7:55 AM. The newsreader is surprised that they're already on the air. 2. The phone rings and is answered. And 3. The tea set breaks. While these are only a few of note, these perfectly represent the basic idea of fate in JoJo, in that there are inevitable events set to happen. With that being said, this arc also shows us the vagueness of these fated events with the breaking of the tea sets. On the first loop, it breaks on accident. On the second loop, Hayato breaks it on purpose to stop Kira from kissing his mum. And in the final loop, the tea set just breaks without any prompt. Not only does this showcase the many variations and pathways in fate, but also shows that fate will happen even if it's unprompted by anyone, simply because, to quote Bohemian Rhapsody, the stands not the song, that's just how the story goes. Of course, we can't talk about fate without talking about the stands that do interact with this concept. For the sake of this video, let's focus on the main villain's stands, because almost all of these do interact with fate in some way. Firstly, we have Killer Queen's third bomb, Bites the Dust. While its main ability is to erase anyone who finds the identity of Yoshikage Kira from Hayato, it also sets in stone the fate of its victim, as even if they don't interact with the person Bites the Dust is attached to in the reset timeline, they'll still explode because that fate has now been forced upon them with Bites the Dust being active. Next is the duo of King Crimson and Epitaph, which combines Epitaph's precognitive abilities with King Crimson's time skipping to make its user intangible to whatever fate has in store for them. Finally, Poochie's Made in Heaven, which accelerates time to the point of the universe resetting and everyone being reborn knowing their fate so they can be at peace with it. And on this note, while his stand abilities don't really interact with fate other than delaying its inevitability, Dio's The World was an instrumental part in the Heaven plan, as Dio needed to engrave the 14 words onto his very soul. What's more is that in part 6 we are introduced to the idea of gravity and how certain meetings are fated to happen. While not called gravity at the time, this was also explained in part 4 and how stand users are fated to meet each other. Also, make note of this next part is my interpretational reading of how gravity works in JoJo. This may not be reflective of how gravity actually works in JoJo, or in real life for that matter. Anyway, every person is like a planet. They have their own gravitational pull or center of gravity. Anything that enters its sphere of gravity gets drawn near to it. Applying this to stand users, every stand user isn't going to meet all stand users, but once a stand user enters another stand user's gravitational pull, they'll be attracted to each other and inevitably meet. While fate is the most powerful concept in this universe, there are 2 other things which can stand toe to toe with it. Resolve. If one's resolve is strong enough, while not a guarantee, they may have a chance to delay or even deny fate. The best example is Bruno Bucciarati, who, despite dying in Venice and Giorno's help, latched onto his dying body with his soul, holding onto it until his mission was complete. And secondly, justice. In parts 4, 5 and 6, which compared to the first 3 parts have a heavy emphasis on this fate, all share the sentiment at their climax is that fate would favour those who truly believe in and fought for justice. Think of the Great Days opening, where no matter if it's the normal OP or the reversed Bites the Dust one, the main sequences are always bookended by justice. Ultimately speaking, the main challenge or question for our characters in this universe is, how will they respond to a universe that's telling them things will happen this way? Fate, as we know in the Steel Ball Run universe, is at best less emphasised, and at worst next to non-existent when compared to the OG universe. While a character may reference or talk about fate or destiny, it appears to be similar in our real world, a turn of phrase. In this universe, there is the flow. On the surface, it does look like fate. However, if you were to look under the hood, everything follows a particular set of laws and logic in order to keep some sort of equilibrium. For example, let's look at one of these more prominent concepts, that being the laws of fortune and misfortune. Very simply, it's good and bad luck. And the best way to see these concepts in action is through D4C's Love Train. Love Train exploits D4C's ability to hop in and out of dimensions, and the Holy Corpse's ability to bestow good luck and fortune onto its beholder to create what is essentially the ultimate defense of ultimate luck. Any attack or misfortune that's intended for Valentine is unable to get to him. However, while this energy can't go to Valentine, this energy has to go somewhere. It can't just be destroyed. Why? Because both fortune and misfortune have to obey the laws of equivalent exchange, a concept that was formally introduced in the following in JoJolian, which states that every action needs an equivalent price or trade to be made. Hence why, when Valentine is attacked, the attack is redirected elsewhere in the world in the form of a calamity, because in return for his immense good luck, someone else has to receive the immense bad luck in the form of a calamity. But of course by now you might be asking, what does that mean for Wonder of You? As in those chapters, everyone in pursuit of Toru was subject to the extreme forms of calamity. If that stand is subservient to the rules of equivalent exchange, shouldn't an equal amount of good luck happen elsewhere? And quite honestly, good question. I don't really have a concrete answer for that. The only three explanations I can come up with is either A, Toru is in a way receiving good fortune, as you could say that it's lucky that everyone was unable to pursue him, i.e. he's expelling bad luck whilst absorbing all the good luck from his would-be pursuers for himself. But if that was the case, Araki probably would have just said that. B, quite simply, Wonder of You's calamity surpasses the equivalent exchange. Or C, just like any JoJo fan, I can't read for shit and I'm about to appear on a Hammond Beat video. That aside, the only thing that was able to surpass both abilities was the spin. More specifically, in Steel Ball Run, the golden spin, which was an ultimate technique using the momentum of a horse's movements to create the infinite rotation, and the other being Soft and Wet Go Beyond in JoJolian, which was bubbles that turned out to be infinitely small thin lines that spun so fast that they didn't even exist in the world, therefore they could surpass the laws of calamity. Finally, talking about JoJolands introduced the mechanism which can be boiled down to how the world works and how things like money and power are transferred. JoJo believes that whoever understands and masters these mechanisms can truly be at the top of society. As we can see, the Steel Ball Run's universe's laws and concepts allow for the characters to understand them, and for those smart enough and for those with the will to do so, are able to exploit these laws to their advantage, like how Funny Valentine combines Ticket to Ride and D4C's abilities to create Love Train, or how Johnny realises he can achieve the golden rotation by being kicked by Slow Dancer, because it's still using the horse's momentum to achieve the golden spin. In conclusion, if I were to boil down the differences between the two universes, the OG universe, as aforementioned, pits our heroes against the inevitability of fate, whereas the Steel Ball Run universe pits our heroes against insurmountable odds. The OG universe challenges our heroes to overcome their fate, whilst the Steel Ball Run universe challenges our heroes to understand the rules of the universe and to use them to their advantage.